Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about this massive winter storm. You may be clicking on this video, you may be thinking that this is a overestimate, this is a gross over exaggeration, and to that I am just going to show you this map right here, and you see that this thing is massive. Everywhere you see those pink areas, that is a winter storm warning. Now, for those that aren't familiar with winter storm warnings, the National Weather Service issues them not deliberately. They're pretty conservative issuing them. They're only issued for pretty powerful winter storms, hence the name. And yes, this is probably the biggest swath of the United States so far this season that has been covered under a winter storm warning. By far the biggest winter storm, making this the biggest winter storm of the season so far. I'll be showing you the most recent data. There have been some changes. I want to show you guys which cities will get hit the hardest. So if you're watching and you're curious, I will be showing you that. And yes, I mean, just a ton of people getting impacted by this, and I'll show you some of the impacts that it has already left behind across portions of Iowa, Missouri, and whatnot. A pretty intense system. So, without further ado, let's start talking about this. I do want to quickly say that if you have any questions, comments, right, leave them down below in the comments box below. All you have to do is scroll down and leave a comment, and I'll do my best to answer them. I may not answer a lot because I've been getting a lot of comments recently, and I haven't been able to kind of answer everyone with adequate ability. But yes, I implore you to leave comments. I do my best to answer them. But of course, for official info, go to the National Weather Service and click on your area, and it should give you the most recent information. However, I'm here just to also show you the models. If you do end up liking the video, consider liking it, consider subscribing. I'm just saying this now because at the end, I always forget to say it. So there it is. All right, let's start. Let's begin talking about this. So first off, here we go. Here's this winter storm. It is massive. It is a beast of a system. It is occurring already across the south currently as we speak. I do want to show you some of the already snowfall amounts that have already occurred. So let me pull up my little map here that has the estimated snowfall, or sorry, not estimated. These are snowfall reports that people measured in their, I guess, backyards, patios, furniture, whatever, wherever they can measure snow. They submitted these reports, and these are the amounts that have fallen across portions of Iowa, Missouri, Minnesota. Now you may be wondering, what's the point of this? Why am I showing you this? Well, this is a very good tool to use to see whether or not the system underperformed or overperformed. And, if it did say overperform, we could tell whether or not it will continue doing the same thing across the south, the east, or will it, not. And do note that there have been many amounts across Iowa that were higher than expected. Notice, Des Moines official snowfall report is at 14 inches. They were expected around 6 to 10. That beat it by a 4-inch margin almost. Do note that there is a lot of over a foot reports, and some are definitely not reported because, again, this may seem like a ton of reports, but they're far and few in between, probably only 1 or 2 per county. Do note that in Missouri, we're starting to see those snowfall reports come in. Northern Arkansas really getting a ham out of this, getting hammered, 6 to 8 inches already, and there's still snow falling. So this has already been a very productive snowstorm, and it will continue doing that. I don't think there's any really signs of this thing slowing down or weakening. This thing is probably just going to get maybe even a bit overperform based on how the system is kind of forming. So let me run you through the radar. I like to look at the radar because this shows us the past. This doesn't show us the future. It's not a weather model, but it shows us the past, and we can learn a lot from looking at the past of a storm. And notice that across Oklahoma there was some snow across obviously Arkansas, where that is still really has just really picked up in the last few hours. That really heavy snowfall. And do note that it has increasingly starting to drag up this moisture from the south, and it's starting to process or kind of march towards the north. Notice there are already some slight signs of snow and ice across the south, and yes, a very heavy rain event for those areas that are seeing rain, and a very heavy snow event for those that are seeing snow. If you recall, there's some of these portions, or some of the locations here across Arkansas are already at 8 inches, right? And that was at 4 p.m. And these areas are still under snow. So these areas are probably going to get potentially over a foot, which is, yes, that is an absolute monster snowstorm for portions right here. And again, it's overperforming already. Will it do so later on? It's tough to tell, but there are definitely no signs that this thing will be a bust, right? Underperformance. So let's go back, and now let me show you what the National Weather Service thinks will fall. Additional snowfall or snow total if it hasn't started yet. Let me take you through 72 hours, and notice it still shows several inches potentially across Arkansas. Arkansas, quite a bit across Tennessee. Again, some of these may be underestimated because this is, again, just a forecast. And if the system really is powerful, it could easily, top some of these amounts, or it could obviously, not get high, as high as some of these amounts show. Notice it shows 3 to 5 across much of eastern Tennessee and northern Mississippi into Arkansas, around close to half a foot across portions of Tennessee, really central Tennessee, and into northern Kansas. Kentucky. We start seeing, or just north into northwestern portions of Tennessee and Kentucky or northeastern, I should say, get well over a foot. The mountains, obviously, potentially well over 2 feet right there. Note that there could be some higher or lower snowfall amounts here, depending on how prolific or not prolific that ice is. Obviously, if you have more ice, the snowfall amounts will be less. But notice that Charleston, right at around almost a foot of snow right there. Cleveland is around 5 to 6, right on that cusp right there. That's going to be a tricky situation. Erie, around a foot. Pittsburgh, around just shy of a foot. And then once you get into upstate New York, well over a foot. I do think that there will be some reports well over 2 feet. The National Weather Service obviously being more conservative with these amounts, and I do think that, so based off what we're seeing across Arkansas, it is conservative, and I could show you why I think it's conservative, because let's go back to, say, a few hours while the system was still across Iowa, and let's see what it showed, predicted snowfall across Arkansas. All right, this is what it showed yesterday. Notice what it showed. Do you see this? This is what it showed yesterday very late yesterday, even almost early today. Look how much snow it showed for Arkansas. 3 to 4 inches, right? And look how much snow has fallen. Do you guys see what I'm saying, right? It's a forecast. It's probably the best one you could get, but there are obviously going to be some errors. Look, I mean, Marshall, Arkansas, right now reporting 8 inches. Yesterday, at this time frame, was forecasted only for 3, according to the National Weather Service. Whether or not that's going to be the same story in Nashville, where they're forecasted 5, and they're going to get 15, because that's literally the same margin of error that Marshall was predicted at. I don't think so. I don't think it's a direct correlation, but there could be a few surprises. And I did tell you guys, right? I remember telling you that this one will throw curveballs, this system. And that does mean that, certain areas will overperform, like Des Moines, Iowa, central Iowa, portions of Arkansas. And I think that there will be many more areas that overperform, and probably even some that underperform, especially where maybe more ice falls or whatnot, in terms of snowfall, obviously. So yes, this is a snowfall. This is what the National Weather Service thinks will happen. Again, that's just a forecast. It's not the actual reality. Let's take a look at models, because oftentimes if I just want to get a better view of what's which side of the perspective the National Weather Service is on in terms of lighter accumulations that are heavier compared to the model data. So if all the models show 20 inches and the National Weather Service shows 15, it's conservative with those snow amounts, vice versa. Notice that this thing is right here, situated across the southern United States. I'm using a model right now that takes us through hours in the future. Obviously, I won't be going over every single hour, because this, if you're across the south, this is going to be occurring tonight and into tomorrow. Just don't go outside until this thing is over, which will be late tomorrow into early Monday. And, obviously you could go outside and enjoy it, but don't try driving or whatever in this type of chaotic weather. Notice Mississippi, right? You're seeing still rain right now. This thing will continue wrapping up at a very slow rate across portions of, again, the south. This does convert snow into portions of Tennessee and northern Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia. We start seeing some ice. Again, notice how it shows a lot of rain here, right? This is mainly falling as rainfall here. Will that be rain, or will that be, a bit more of snow? It's tough to tell. At this point, I think this is a bit too aggressive. I think some of that could definitely be falling as snowfall. So I think that, even this model has a poor handle on it. Notice that this thing does start spinning up the northeast coast by this is tomorrow towards afternoon. Still snowing across potentially Georgia, Tennessee. Again, depending on how heavy or not heavy those snowfall rates are, will mean an overperformance or underperformance for the Tennessee area. This thing does start pushing into Virginia, West Virginia by tomorrow towards the afternoon. Again, I think most of this will be snow. There won't be rain, even though this model shows that. Note that this thing, once it starts getting its act together, it starts moving pretty quickly to the north. And again, there it is. You can see going through Pennsylvania. You can see the coastal areas will be seeing rain. That includes New York City, Philadelphia. Though Philadelphia may start off as a few hours of heavy snowfall, you'll end up into rain. But again, that's still an optimistic scenario that you'll get heavy snow, because it just may be a very quick transition. This model shows that a bit of a slower transition, and notice extremely heavy rain on the coastal sides as the system picks up extremely strong winds once it gets up here. I would not be surprised, honestly, if they issue some blizzard warnings out ahead of this thing, because this thing is going to be definitely wind whipping that snow. I mean, that is extremely strong winds right there. That is a very strong low pressure, 974, and I think that that doesn't really change the message. A blizzard, a winter storm warning. This thing is massive and impactful, as we've been kind of advertising this whole time, ever since a few days. This thing started to show up on the model data. Notice this is the accumulated snowfall additional according to the RAP Kuchera. Note that it shows quite a bit across Tennessee. Still, some of that snow across Arkansas. That's why I think some of those amounts could get well over a foot, or close to a foot, I should say. Notice Kentucky, North Carolina, northern Georgia see a bit of that snow again. This may be a bit of a conservative amount estimate, and I think it does a pretty good job once it gets into southern Canada and kind of western New York, western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 inches. I think there will be amounts that are over 2 feet. The National Weather Service doesn't say that. I think there will be. We'll see. Toronto picks up some snow out of this. Pretty good event. Again, you're kind of on that border, though. If the system shifts just slightly towards the west, you won't get that much heavy snow. At this point, I think, you're in that heavy snow. It's more like cities like Cleveland are kind of iffy. Notice, Quebec really avoiding that, but Montreal and Ottawa really just getting hammered by this. And I do want to show you the rainfall side of this thing on the warm side. This thing will be delivering quite a bit of rain. And notice that, again, there we have it. There's that snow, obviously. That would be in the form of snow. But right there, that's rainfall for you. And you can see up to over an inch and a half in some areas, maybe even 2 inches, especially where the thunderstorms occur. So let's now just go around and compare the snowfall amounts based off models. The more models you look at, the better idea you have of a given winter storm, and in this case, that's also true. So let's see what other models are showing, and let's see if they have comparable snowfall amounts to what this model is showing. So this is a HER model. It goes out only to 18 hours, but let's go back to its well, whatever. I'll just stop talking as much, trying to explain the different modeling data. The thing is with these models is, right, that the RAP model, this one I just showed you, goes out to 50 hours every 6 hours, and so does this one, or the HER model, which is a different one I'm trying to show you right now. The thing is that they go out to 50 hours only 4 times a day and at different hours. So I'll just go back to show you the last time it went out to 60 or 48 hours, which was a few hours ago. The data is still probably relatively accurate. This is how much snow it shows. Again, I think some of these amounts are a bit conservative, especially across Tennessee, Mississippi, but, conservative. Look at that. It shows in some areas almost 10, 11 inches. I just don't think maybe it won't be as high and concentrated. I think it'll be a bit more widespread, not so kind of jumpy. I don't know how else to put that, spotty. But do note that it does show quite a bit of snow up here. I think some of these amounts are pretty conservative, and I think there will be quite a bit more than that. Let's take a look at some other models. NAM and AM model, very good model. Let's see what this one shows. You can see a bit on the lighter side across the south, but it gets very heavy once you get towards here. More of an western scenario. Notice portions of Ohio picking up a lot more. Cleveland, Columbus, than compared to the other models. They show that a bit further towards the east. Let's take a look at some other models. NAM 3 kilometers. It's a very good one. It's kind of the high res of the one I just showed you. Again, I think some of these are just honestly a bit too little. I do think that there will be snow, obviously here. I just think that there will be a bit stronger amounts. And notice that they also do show quite a bit up here towards the north. Again, I think some of these amounts will be a bit stronger or a bit higher. I don't think that there will be just around a foot in the peaks, which this one, in its most intense bands, it shows 21 inches. I think there will be higher amounts. So a lot of these models are a bit conservative. But in terms of the global model, so these are like the long range ones, I think I agree with these a bit more. They have higher amounts. They have probably better handling on this. I don't know if there will be, close to 30 inches, but I do think that there will be areas at least over 20 that are pretty widespread across the Erie and Ontario area where the lake enhancement may help a bit reaching those amounts. Let's take a look at another amount, right? Another model. Notice this one shows a bit more towards almost reaching Detroit. Whether or not that will happen, I don't know. This is probably an outlier. It's very far towards the west compared to some of the other models, so I don't really take it with too much consideration. And this is the thing, guys, right? So this system, uh, if you look at this model, you may look at Arkansas, or you might have looked at it today at noon and been like, wow, this is a flop. We're only going to get, a few more inches out of this. And because this was released at 11 o'clock today in the morning. But you ended up seeing what, 8 inches. So these models aren't awfully too accurate, which is why it's tough to make an accurate forecast with this, given the fact that this is just a mess. I mean, a lot of this will start kind of going back and forth between snow. You can see Jonesboro, they're kind of seeing snow, kind of rain. It's starting to converge, kind of not. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be hard to predict this precisely, but I do think that the National Weather Service has a good handling on it. However, I think some of these amounts are still on the lighter side, and the models aren't really helpful in this case. They're doing kind of a poor handling of the system across the south. I think once you go towards the north and east, they do a better job. But you can see some of these models just show a much lighter event, which again I don't think will be accurate. So we'll just have to see how this evolves. Otherwise, I'm here to tell you that this is a massive system. It's a massive storm. It's very impactful. I'm just kind of trying to point out the specific details, whether or not it will be further east or west. And at this point, I think that the track that the National Weather Service has is pretty accurate in terms of location. It's just that the intensity, I think, is still a bit too weak. This system has had a history of overperformance across the Midwest and now portions of the South, Arkansas, Missouri, even portions of now even eastern Oklahoma wasn't expected to get a lot of snow or any snow at all. And let me go back here, and you can see that they did get some amounts, even right there, Sawyer, Oklahoma, around 1.5 inches. And I do think that there will be some 2 feet amounts way further towards the north. So yes, that's pretty much it that I wanted to show you from the models. Let's go back now to the National Weather Service, and I want to show you individual cities. So Charleston, let's take a look at Charleston. Let's see what their snowfall graphic calls for. Notice they call 6 to 8 right there for Charleston, which I do think honestly will be a bit higher. They're saying that the snow mixing with rain, sleet, I think that will be a bit minimalized based off looking at this radar right here. It's mainly just a rain snow event as of now. A lot more rain and snow compared to sleet and ice, which would potentially cut down on the snowfall amounts. Notice South Carolina with those ice warnings, that's also a concern, because if ice were to occur, it's going to occur in this area because there's a pocket of cool air. Precip's going to be riding over on top of that, and that ice could be even crippling in some of those locations. Do note that northern Georgia, right, some of these locations you could see over 8 inches. I do think that's a possibility. Atlanta up to 2 inches. I think that there might be even more. Honestly, potentially even up to 3 to 4 if you just get an additional hour of heavy snow compared to what's the current thinking. You could get a lot more snow than that. Notice Arkansas, they were forecasted to get around 3 to 6 yesterday. I vividly remember looking at that, and now you can see they have this is their additional snowfall. So that's kind of what the total snowfall forecast looked at the beginning. And again, on top of what's already fallen, this is going to be a potentially historic event for these locations. Notice Tennessee, right? A lot of folks living here. Let's see at the snowfall forecast. I'm going to tell you right now, this is probably a bit conservative. Though again, if it does turn into more of an ice event, this is probably a bit more accurate, if not even overdone. It's very hard to tell. I'm just telling you, if this thing throws a curveball in any sort of a way, do not be surprised. Because if the storm were to throw a curveball, it would be this one. This one's a nasty, hard to predict system. These amounts across eastern Kentucky, I think they're underdone. I think there will be more than 7 inches across some of these areas. And you can see that this is their chances of 6 or more. I think some of these are a bit, again, underdone. I think that's been the main story with the system. I mean, come on, guys. Look at some of these amounts that we saw with the forecast snowfall across portions of Iowa. I'm trying to see if I could go back to that. I guess I can't. Whatever. You saw that there was 14 inches in Des Moines, Iowa. They were not forecasted to get that much. I do want to say that, even with a kind of more conservative estimation, the National Weather Service, if you take a look at some of these areas in northern Pennsylvania, they do show a lot of snow. Look, 6 to 10, 3 to 5. So either way, even if it is a more conservative scenario, which I really doubt it will be, this thing's going to be a monster. Let's take a look at Buffalo, just south of Buffalo, with this current, what I clicked on. Look at that, 6 to 10, 7 to 11. The official winter storm warning calls for, I think, up to 20 inches. Yeah, 12 to 19. That's a big system, guys. A historic system, potentially. And to note that there are still winter storm watches up here. They haven't even been issued into a warning. And that's probably because of the lack of confidence exactly what this thing will be doing. But, you know, it's growing at this point that this thing will be nasty. 3 to 5 Sunday night, MLK Day, 3 to 5. So again, the further up north you east and go, the later it will be, which is why those winter storm watches are a bit delayed. So yeah, guys, this thing, you know, I'm having a hard time kind of trying to message what I want, but if you're still watching at this point in the video, I just want to say this thing is massive. This thing is very, very large. This thing is probably going to throw curveballs, as it has already, and I've been saying this for the past 3 days, or really 2 days, since the day before yesterday, and it has come true. Those curveballs. I want to show you just maybe what the GFS does with this, because I think this one has a very good model handling over it. You can see that's what it's currently trying to do. 6 p.m. That's a pretty good handling of this. Notice it's still snowing in Arkansas as of midnight today. Or tomorrow, and then again by tomorrow early in the morning it starts moving through the south into Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia, right up the northeast coast by tomorrow in the afternoon and evening. And it's just, you know, by the time MLK is here, we still have snow across the northeast, the mid-Atlantic, and by the time this system's out of here, it is late Monday to early Tuesday. So it's a pretty long duration event just because of how long it's been occurring and how long of a track this thing is taking. But notice well over a foot for many of these areas, and I think this is probably a bit more reasonable compared to what the National Weather Service is showing. Even though, you know, I do think they're a very good source and whatnot, sometimes, you know, there's a lot of stuff to learn from the past, and let me tell you that some of these things the system has already thrown in terms of curveballs have been already rather impressive and a bit unsettling, concerning, because this type of stuff, you know, you literally have a forecast of 5 inches in northern Arkansas, and you get a curveball of a foot. Yeah, that's pretty concerning, to say the least. So again, we'll have to wait and see how this exactly unfolds. And I do want to add that if you live across the coastal cities of New York, Boston, and Philadelphia, these cities may not be seeing kind of the brunt of the winter side of the system, but you will be seeing a lot of flooding, potentially not only from the coastal areas, the ocean, because of the strong winds that will be blowing into this on the coast, but also from just a very heavy rainfall. Notice if I click on New York, city of New York, you could be expecting rainfall amounts that are pretty significant. I don't know if they show this precisely. You can see MLK Day, they just say little to no accumulation, but there could be over an inch and a half of precipitation, which is most definitely significant. And you can see that they are definitely talking about this. And I think that they do have a rainfall graphic here. This is the snow that could fall. You can see that New York City may get a bit, right? Northern areas may even get quite a bit of it, but it does seem that mainly it's a rain event for these areas, which could be quite a bit. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all on the next episode. Stay safe. See ya. Bye.